Have you ever noticed that the most magnetic man in the room says the least, yet commands the most respect? There's a mysterious power in calm detachment, a force that draws others in without a single word. Uncover the secret behind this silent appeal and see why true attraction begins within. The most attractive men are always calm. Stoic Silent Appeal. Compiled and published by Stoic Power. Lesson 1. Inner stillness builds outer strength. Imagine a mountain crowned with winter mist, its immovable presence undisturbed as storms swirl and rage around it. No matter how fierce the wind howls or how the world trembles, the mountain stands, steady, dignified, and proud. This is the essence of inner stillness, a quiet force that doesn't clamor for attention, but whose calm authority is undeniable to anyone who witnesses it. Such stillness feels like strength simmering just beneath cool stone, the disciplined fire that glows but never burns out. This inner foundation is the birthplace of genuine power, the kind that cannot be stolen, faked, or shouted into existence, but is cultivated silently, moment by moment, deep within. Every day, men encounter invisible storms. Maybe it starts as an anxious stirring in the chest before a big meeting or a wave of impatience rising while stuck in an endless queue. It could take the shape of anger's sudden heat during an argument or the razor thrill of fear when stepping beyond your comfort zone. The world expects constant reactivity, loud opinions, quick retorts, quick fixes for discomfort and vulnerability. Yet chasing every emotional gust often leaves us feeling spent, anxious, or off balance, like a loose ship tossed on high, unpredictable seas. Maybe you've noticed this in yourself. An argument pushes your buttons, and suddenly you say things you can't take back. Or you lose focus when your mood shifts, feeling powerless to steer through the whirlpool of your own emotions. There's frustration in losing self-control, a hollow regret that sours even our best intentions. Many find themselves haunted by this cycle and long for the unshakable steadiness they see in men who seem untouched by chaos. The transformative secret lies not in stifling your feelings, but in anchoring yourself like the roots of that immovable mountain. Emotional mastery is less about shutting down and more about standing grounded as life's tempests pass. Picture yourself becoming a silent harbor in a world of storm-tossed ships, unruffled beneath the surface, while everything else is tossed in confusion. This inner stillness is trainable, regardless of past habits or current doubts. When you nurture calm inside, you start to notice a shift. Reactions slow, clarity blooms, presence grows more commanding than any raised voice. Instead of being yanked from one emotional extreme to the next, you become the calm in your own storm, self-disciplined and powerfully attractive. Building this stillness begins with one essential step: awareness. It sounds simple, even deceptively easy, but consider how many moments pass where we jump to respond, defend, or escape discomfort without truly seeing what's happening inside us. The ancient Stoics understood that true strength blooms from within. It's the cultivated garden beneath the tranquil surface, the silent forge where unbreakable character is shaped. By returning focus to your breath in tense moments, observing worries like clouds crossing the sky, you gather control not by fighting feelings, but by being deeply present with them. It's in this space that real power grows, the ability to choose your response, delay an outburst, reshape your own story. Imagine how your life changes when your presence remains unshaken in the face of challenge. Friends and strangers sense it. You project confidence without arrogance, resolve without rigidity. You no longer need to prove yourself through performance or noise because your steadiness speaks volumes, quietly whispering, "I am in control," even when the situation isn't. This is the magnetic force, the calm, self-discipline, and clarity at the heart of an undefeatable man. Learning to foster inner stillness is not a far-off dream reserved for ancient sages or monks, but a practical, potent strength you can train daily. When you make peace with your own emotions, letting them flow but not dictate, a sense of freedom opens within, revealing undiscovered reserves of courage, confidence, and resolve. It's from this silent center that your greatest self emerges, quietly commanding the respect and attraction you've always deserved. Start by pausing when emotion rises and noticing your breath. returning your focus to the present and letting thoughts settle like dust after a storm. With daily practice, you'll feel steadier and more empowered, seeing setbacks as fuel for inner growth. Try this now, and remember, each day is a new chance to cultivate stillness. In the next lesson, discover how mastering emotional control signals deep, unshakable confidence. If you find this helpful, subscribe, like, and share your thoughts or suggestions in the comments below. Lesson 2. Emotional control signals deep confidence. There is a quiet assurance in a still lake. It reflects the sunrise perfectly, undisturbed by passing winds, its calm surface hinting at unseen depths. This tranquil poise is far from emptiness. It is an expression of profound strength. When life's storms roar, when arguments flare and everyday frustrations are hurled our way like stones, the man who keeps his composure radiates something unmistakable, a deep, unwavering confidence that no chaos can uproot. This calmness is magnetic. It draws people in not just because it soothes, but because it assures. Others instinctively sense there's something unbreakable beneath the surface, something earned and consciously protected. We live in a world that tests our patience relentlessly. Each day seems to bring fresh opportunities to lose our grip. An unkind word at work, a plan unraveling last minute. The pressures of expectation piling higher. There is a temptation within each man to react immediately. Voices rise, fists clench, resentment sparks and simmers. Maybe you felt it in your own chest. The thud of adrenaline before you respond to criticism. The simmer of irritation when someone cuts you off. That hollow ache after a confrontation you wish had gone differently. Sometimes your own reactivity can surprise you, leaving you wondering why it's so hard to simply stay calm. Beneath the surface, this lack of self-control eats away at genuine confidence. Each outburst, each moment of regret is another stone weighing down your sense of self-trust, making it seem impossible that you'll ever master your emotions. The world expects men to have answers, to command respect, to take the lead. Yet how can you embody that role when self-command keeps slipping through your fingers? The transformative path to change begins with embracing the discipline of emotional control, a discipline whose power is both subtle and immense. Think of an experienced archer facing a turbulent wind. He doesn't force the environment to change, nor does he shut his eyes and hope for the best. Instead, he learns to steady his breathing, to quiet his mind, and bide his time until the right moment comes. His confidence is not the bravado of those who need to be seen and heard at every turn, but the inner faith of someone who knows he governs himself. This is the core of emotional control. The ability to pause, to survey your feelings without panic or denial, and meet the world on your terms. Practically, this doesn't mean you never feel anger, anxiety, or jealousy. These are all universal and natural. Emotional control is the discipline of learning what to do with those feelings. That silent negotiation where you become the captor of your experience, rather than its helpless captive. It is the ancient wisdom of the Stoics, alive in the present, alive in your breath, in your being. When you master your reactions, every encounter changes. You begin to speak fewer words, yet each carries more weight. You find yourself walking into a room and instantly commanding attention, not with force, but with that calm confidence rooted in self-possession. The benefits extend beyond social charisma, touching everything from business meetings to moments of private doubt. With emotional control, life takes on the quiet certainty of a seasoned sailor navigating foggy seas, capable, patient, and immune to panic. The discipline exists not to shackle you, but to liberate you, to unlock the deeper layers of your personality so that your true, undefeatable self can shine through. In every encounter, emotional control becomes the force that signals real strength. And for those willing to train the mind and heart, the world rewards them with boundless opportunities and respect. Pause before reacting. Notice your feelings, breathe deeply, and choose your response with intention. As you practice, you'll gain self-respect, earn the trust of others, and feel an authentic calm grow within. Begin today and keep sharpening this inner skill. Next, discover how presence without words commands respect. Subscribe, like, and share your thoughts below to strengthen our community. Lesson 3. Presence without words commands respect. Step into a room as quietly as the tide arriving at dawn and watch how the world shapes itself around you. Not because of anything you say, but because of the certainty you carry within. There's an unmistakable energy about a man who simply stands, alert yet composed, his silence making more impact than the loudest voice ever could. In a world brimming with noise, where almost everyone fights for attention using words that spill out quickly and often carelessly, there's a rare kind of authority in silent presence. It's like the hush before a storm, charged with possibility. The feeling that beneath the calm exterior, great power and intention are quietly taking shape. We all know the uneasy temptation to fill silence, whether in casual conversation, work meetings, or social gatherings. Many fear that pauses, or worse, saying nothing at all, will make them invisible or dull. You may have felt this push yourself, the urge to be the one with the clever answer, to break uncomfortable silences with even a trivial remark, hoping it grants approval. Often, people cover nervousness by laughing too loudly, sharing too much, or scrambling to keep conversations alive, even if their words have little substance behind them. The truth is, these efforts are rarely satisfying. Afterward, there's that nagging sense you've shared too much, tried too hard, or left little room for mystery, authority, or genuine respect to take root. Beneath this social anxiety, what you're really seeking is confirmation of value, to be noticed, included, appreciated. There is a universal discomfort in being overlooked, dismissed, or mistaken for insignificant. The mistake is thinking that saying more or performing harder brings this validation. In reality, the constant need to be noticed weakens the presence you wish to build. You become, as the Stoics observed, reactive instead of deliberate, dependent on the world's approval instead of grounded in your own truth. Others sense this, sometimes consciously and sometimes not, and instinctively turn their attention to those who seem to derive their value from within. They drift toward the man who is present and self-possessed, whose silence communicates both confidence and curiosity. He stands like an archer who draws but does not fire, showing restraint instead of desperation, clarity instead of uncertainty. Here's the transformative realization. Commanding presence doesn't begin with what you say, but with how deeply you anchor yourself in the moment. It is a learned skill, not a natural-born personality trait. Imagine yourself as a lighthouse on a cliff, a vivid point in the landscape regardless of night or storm, casting quiet strength outward that reassures, guides, and attracts. When you practice presence, you don't disappear, you become the axis around which the whole room turns. Attention finds you, not because you've demanded it, but because your calm, silent steadiness provides something others crave in a chaotic world. This presence is built through mastering the discipline of stillness and attention, rather than grasping for control. When you enter a situation with a clear mind and quiet body, you begin to truly listen, sense, and observe deeply. You realize that other people are drawn to those who hold a space of calm and focused attention amidst the scattered energy of social life. The ancient Stoics cultivated this quality, recognizing that inner containment is the ground from which true influence rises. By being fully present, eyes steady, movements controlled, distractions filtered out, you emit a rare confidence without saying a word. Over time, this way of being signals an unspoken impact, because while words are often forgotten, presence lingers in the minds of others long after you've gone. In its simplicity and power, the silent Stoic presence reverberates deeper than applause and carries you forward, not by demand, but by the patience and strength you quietly project into every room, every encounter, every moment. Practice entering every room with calm awareness, focusing on your breath and observing before speaking. Notice the shift as your silent presence begins to attract attention naturally, fostering respect and curiosity. Begin embodying this today. Next, discover how self-mastery makes you magnetic. Subscribe, like, and share your reflections or suggestions below to grow with us. Lesson 4. Self-mastery makes you magnetic. Picture an ancient blacksmith's forge glowing quietly in the twilight, each deliberate strike forging metal into something stronger, something purposeful. The flames are not wild but contained, their heat devoted to one singular mission. In the same way, self-mastery is the glowing core within a disciplined person, steady and powerful, quietly shaping an interior strength that transforms everything it touches. True magnetism is never loud, never desperate. It radiates from a deep commitment to one's own growth, from a mind trained to shape thoughts and feelings with precision, much like the blacksmith forges steel at his anvil. Yet modern life often feels like a battleground between intention and impulse. How often do you find yourself resolved to maintain composure in a challenging moment, only to feel your will crumble? Maybe there are promises you make to yourself: to get up earlier, to focus on work without distraction, to reply to conflict calmly, that slip quietly away as routines pile up and emotions rise uninvited. The conflict, painfully familiar, comes in recognizing what is best, but struggling to act upon it. Inner voices can question, why can't I stick with my goals? Why do I so often act on feelings in the moment? The pain comes in seeing flashes of your highest self, the disciplined mind, the calm responder, the one fully in charge, shadowed again and again by old patterns or emotional noise. Most people secretly believe that others have some secret recipe for self-control, a natural gift that allows them to rise above the internal fights. The reality is less magical, but far more hopeful. Self-mastery is not reserved for the chosen, but is available to all through steady, conscious practice. Picture the seasoned archer, returning to his target not out of routine, but out of reverence for the process. Each arrow released is a moment of learning, each breath a chance to grow steadier, wiser. The archer knows he will never seize control of the wind, only his own focus, his own discipline. Likewise, you may not be able to silence the emotional storms forever, but you can train yourself, drawing from the strength of ancient wisdom that lives vividly today. Observe, reflect, act with intention. The transformative path starts with observing yourself honestly, gently noticing what triggers you, what tempts you off course, and what inspires resilience. To forge self-mastery, the first strike is awareness, a recognition of your impulses as they arise, without judgment, but with deep curiosity. From that place, you begin the patient shaping, small, daily decisions to pause, to return to your breath, to choose a thoughtful response over a knee-jerk reaction. As these acts build upon one another, the deeper self, the unwavering, silent Stoic, begins to step forward, subtly influencing your presence in front of others. The beauty of self-mastery is that its power speaks without words. Others are drawn, almost instinctively, to a person who is in command of himself. This effect is magnetic because it suggests something rare, a freedom from chaos, a trust that your actions are yours alone, not dictated by the emotional weather of the day. You exude a calm certainty, the energy of someone who isn't swayed by every passing situation but moves instead from an internal compass calibrated day after day. Friends, partners, colleagues, people of all kinds sense this trustworthiness and self-command often before a word is spoken, just as sailors sense hidden tides beneath a calm sea. Self-mastery, then, is not some hard, rigid denial of feeling, but a practiced unlocking, a gentle return to the core from which all growth, power, and authentic personal attraction radiate outward. Through this ancient yet ever-renewing practice, the disciplined soul becomes impossible to ignore, glowing quietly at the heart of every situation, inspiring connection, respect, and enduring fascination. Start by noticing your urges, pausing before you act, and choosing a response anchored in your true intentions. With consistent practice, confidence grows, your presence becomes compelling, and setbacks lose their hold. Take this step every day. Next, we'll uncover why responding calmly shows real power. Subscribe, like, and share your thoughts to help our community flourish. Lesson 5. Responding calmly shows real power. Imagine an ancient fortress atop a quiet hill, walls enduring through centuries of storms and invasions. No matter how fiercely the winds batter or lightning splits the sky, the fortress stands undaunted. Its strength measured not by the noise it makes, but by what it endures in silence. Our character, too, is revealed not when situations are calm, but when trials thunder against us. In those moments, when heat rises in your chest, when words are sharper than blades, when everything in you leans toward striking back. True power is found not in retaliation, but in the patient pause. It is in those silent, hard-won moments of composure that you show the world and yourself the extent of your mastery. There is a particular struggle that many face at this crossroads. Perhaps you recognize how frustration or embarrassment can flip a switch inside you almost instantly. A careless insult, a mistake at work, the slow burn when your efforts go unnoticed. So many people live in a state of readiness to react, feeling compelled to defend, explain, or retaliate the second they sense disrespect or challenge. These knee-jerk responses often promise quick relief, but usually increase your stress, chip away at your peace, or, worst of all, make situations spiral further out of control. Deep down, you may notice that the constant cycle of reacting leaves a bitter aftertaste. Regret for things said in anger, shame for being provoked so easily, disappointment in the gap between the person you wish to become and the habits you continue to feed. The quiet truth is that this endless reactivity rarely achieves respect, resolution, or lasting impact. Instead, it makes it easy for others to unsettle you and keeps your emotional state chained to the whim of someone else's words or actions. The alternative is a transformative shift from reaction to thoughtful response, a practice that forms the unseen foundation of the Stoic ideal. This doesn't mean being passive or suppressing how you feel, but instead pausing to let emotions unfold and separate immediate feeling from intentional action. It is like being the captain of a ship, navigating through dark, rough waters. Not shouting at the storm, but adjusting the sails, reading the signs, and waiting for the right move. When you step back for a heartbeat to breathe or to gather yourself before responding, whether with words, actions, or even silence, you transform the moment. That brief pause speaks louder than confrontation, signaling that you are not tossed by the emotion of the hour, but stand rooted in something deeper, more durable. Mastering the art of responding calmly doesn't mean you crumble or lose your voice. Instead, it gives you the steady grip on the helm of your own soul, even when tempests swirl around you. Others sense this, and it changes the way they interact with you. When you delay your response, take a deep breath, and choose words carefully. Not only does your composure speak for you, it also transforms the room's energy. Arguments cool down. Respect rises. Sometimes your calm resistance reduces anger in others. Sometimes it signals silent strength, deterring those who might otherwise test your limits. This ability is centuries old, and yet more relevant than ever. A living wisdom that can be practiced by anyone, at any age, in any situation. Cultivating this approach is both liberating and attractive, unlocking a sense of invincibility that doesn't rely on domination, yelling, or winning an exchange. It marks you as someone who cannot be swayed into chaos on someone else's terms. The more you apply this discipline, pausing as the archer steadying his bow before losing the arrow, or standing in the eye of whatever social storm you face, the more you'll find that real control, influence, and peace follow naturally. The world needs not more noise or fury, but the strong, steady example of those who meet challenges with the calm assurance of a fortress enduring through any storm. This is where your true power lives, ready to be claimed each time you choose restraint over reaction, turning every test into a triumph for your silent, undefeatable self. When tension rises, practice pausing, counting to 5, and consciously relaxing your shoulders before you speak or act. Notice how each calm response earns respect and diffuses conflict, unlocking new levels of confidence and serenity. Begin now and witness your strength grow. Next, uncover how serenity breaks the social noise. Subscribe, like, and share your insights with our community. Lesson 6. Serenity breaks the social noise. Think of a candle burning steadily in a dark room while winds howl just beyond the window panes. All around, the shadows flicker and twist, but the flame at the heart remains poised, its warm light undisturbed by the chaos outside. Serenity is this inner flame, quietly brilliant despite the surrounding noise. In a world flooded with distractions and loud opinions, the presence of a truly serene person stands out like that bright, unwavering candle, the kind of calmness that draws others near, needing no demand for attention, but receiving it effortlessly, simply by being still and clear amidst the clamor. This image feels especially relevant now, as many people live in a constant swirl of social noise. From dawn until dusk, notifications buzz relentlessly. Conversations hover on the edge of argument, and pressure to respond, perform, and be noticed never truly fades. There's the stress of trying to make your point heard over the voices of a crowded room, of feeling compelled to defend small details, of being swept by trends or the energy of people who cannot find their own silence. This exhaustion is real. Maybe you recognize the habit of comparing yourself to others, feeling an impulse to join in every conversation or react to every comment, afraid that if you fall silent, you will become invisible or irrelevant. There arises a subtle but persistent anxiety. Am I enough in this busy, noisy world? Do people notice me for my words, or for something deeper I can hardly express? This struggle is nearly universal, and it grows in proportion to the surrounding commotion. When social settings demand more and more input, many lose their grip on genuine presence, spreading themselves thin, chasing attention, and letting the clamor erode their confidence and patience. In such an environment, insecurity deepens, relationships become shallow, and individuals feel more alone than ever, masked by social noise, yet unable to hear their own authentic truth. The absence of serenity is not just a lack of peace. It's an inner restlessness that keeps you chained to the world's tempo instead of your own chosen rhythm. The solution is both ancient and remarkably attainable. Cultivate a core serenity that is as reliable as the deep ocean beneath a storm-tossed surface. Practicing this serenity does not mean withdrawing from others or ignoring life's responsibilities. It means training the mind to respond rather than to react, to listen more than to speak, to find periodic quiet even in the middle of busy hours. Imagine yourself as a seasoned sailor, steering across unpredictable waters, yet always anchored in a deep, silent certainty. Beneath the surface, your currents move with intention, guided by values and self-awareness rather than the winds of fashion or fleeting approval. This path asks you to build pockets of stillness into every interaction, taking deliberate breaths when the noise rises, pausing before responding, and granting yourself permission not to have an answer for everything. In the practice of serenity, you become a living example of unwavering calm in a restless world. Your focus sharpens, and your energy is no longer split among 1,000 distractions. Confidence arises not because you are louder or more visible, but because you move with measured purpose. Suddenly, people notice, not just your words, but the peace that radiates from you, an authentic calm that soothes, inspires, and draws curiosity without effort. Those who embody serenity become beacons. Friends and even strangers subconsciously seek their company when everything else feels overwhelming. Here is the silent Stoic at his most powerful. Deeply present, undefeated by what swirls around him, and firmly anchored in the ancient strength that comes from mastering both mind and emotion. This is how serenity breaks through the social noise and becomes the impact that matters, changing not just how others see you, but how you experience the world at its noisiest. Whenever you feel overwhelmed, close your eyes, take 3 slow breaths, and allow your thoughts to settle before reacting. You'll notice greater clarity, self-assuredness, and real respect from others over time. Start now and see your world grow quieter inside. Next, explore the irresistible charisma of Stoic silence. Subscribe, like, and leave your thoughts for us below. Lesson 7. Stoic silence becomes irresistible charisma. Picture an ancient sculpture rendered with perfect stillness, the marble face serene, the gaze steady, every feature capturing the intensity of the quiet before a great decision. There is something deeply captivating about this silence, as if beneath the unmoving exterior, whole worlds of emotion and intention are quietly being held in check. In everyday life, the people we remember most are sometimes the ones who speak the least. Their calm, deliberate silence lingers in the mind and draws interest the way twilight draws the eye at the end of a blinding day. They possess an irresistible charisma, a pull that cannot be explained by flashy words or overt gestures. In the chaos of modern communication, endless chatter, quick reactions, loud opinions, there is rare magnetism in the person who chooses to remain silent and watchful, harnessing the power of what goes unspoken. Nearly everyone has felt the pressure to fill a moment's silence, to soothe awkwardness, prove value, or gesticulate wildly in search of attention. There is the inner conflict that comes when conversation slows. The fear that your silence marks you as invisible, cold, or disengaged. In group settings or high-stakes conversations, you might notice your mind racing, frantically searching for the right thing to say. Sometimes, this leads you into over-explaining or sharing beyond what's necessary. The irony is that in trying so hard to show you belong, you can end up fading into noise, stripped of distinction by an endless barrage of words that compete and never quite connect. The longing to be memorable turns into anxiety about being overlooked, or paradoxically, about revealing too much and sacrificing your dignity. There is a wise solution known through the ages and championed by Stoics from antiquity to present: mastering the art of deliberate silence. Like an archer holding steady before letting the arrow fly, the silent Stoic refuses to react impulsively, instead choosing quiet as the ground from which meaning and mystery both arise. This silence is not the absence of thought, but the presence of tremendous discipline. It is the ability to let silence stretch comfortably, to resist the aimless urge to fill every gap, and allow your true intentions and presence to emanate through your calm restraint. Far from making you invisible, this practice makes you magnetic. People become curious about your perspective, wondering what you're thinking, drawn to your reserved composure because it hints at depth they can't immediately access with words alone. By practicing Stoic silence, you unlock a personal gravity that subtly shapes rooms and relationships. At work, you display suspense rather than anxiety, choosing your moments carefully until your contributions have real weight. Among friends or new acquaintances, you exude confidence, not by boasting, but through the calm certainty that you do not need to force connection. Even in high-pressure moments, your willingness to simply observe before speaking demonstrates mastery of mind and emotion, projecting courage and composure even as your surroundings swirl with noise or nervousness. Others, consciously or not, look to the silent figure in the room for leadership or reassurance. They see someone who is not driven by external validation or the hunger to be recognized, but who draws power from a deeper, more assured source. This silent charisma is ancient and immediate, requiring only your resolve to train the mind and allow space for thought before action. It is a way of being that overcomes fear of insignificance and instead positions you as unshakable, a lighthouse for others in the crowded harbor of human communication. The choice to hold your words is not a withdrawal, but an invitation. The tantalizing sense that you have discovered a place of peace within, while everyone else is still searching. In learning this discipline, you embody a presence that is impactful, attractive, and utterly unforgettable, transmitting strength without ever needing to raise your voice. Whenever you feel the urge to fill a silence, pause and listen instead. Hold your response, let your thoughts settle, and observe others deeply. This discipline strengthens your presence, earning admiration and curiosity without effort. Begin today with intentional silences and watch your irresistible charisma quietly grow with every interaction. Your journey toward mastery continues. Embrace it. Thank you for joining us on this journey to discover the quiet power of Stoic calm, emotional mastery, and silent charisma. By practicing these principles, you unlock true strength, confidence, and authentic attraction. We appreciate your time. Please like, comment with your thoughts, and subscribe to our channel for more transformation and insight.